What's up everyone, the Game2K2 here again, and today I continue my review of the Harry Potter franchise with part 1 of the film adaptation of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Like I said in my review for the Half-Blood Prince, David Yates has already signed on for the Deathly Hallows before the release of the Half-Blood Prince. For the first couple of months of pre-production, the Deathly Hallows was only said to be one movie. However, it will be decided by Yates and everyone else at Heyday Films that the Deathly Hallows would be split into two parts to ensure that this adaptation would be the best and most loyal adaptation in the series. For a little while, fans were very mixed opinionated about the whole ordeal until the first trailer made its debut. That definitely changed fans' minds. However, would it turn out to be a good idea? Let's find out. It's a very long plot, but I'll try to explain it as best I can. The story begins with the Order trying to get Harry safely from the Dursleys' house to the Burrow. They use Polyjuice Potion to make 7 Harry Potters and confuse the Death Eaters. After being ambushed and Harry managing to once again escape Voldemort, they arrive at the Burrow but not without casualties as George is injured and Mad-Eye Moody is dead. After the fall of the Ministry and the Death Eaters attacking the Burrow during Ron's brother's wedding, Harry, Ron, and Hermione escape and begin their mission looking for the rest of the Horcruxes that Voldemort had created, beginning with trying to find the real locket. After a lot of difficulty at the Ministry, they manage to get the locket from Dolores Umbridge. However, despite that bit of success, the mission doesn't go very well. They can't destroy the locket, and Ron leaves after a bad argument with Harry. However, Harry and Hermione continue the mission and head to Godric Hollows, where Harry's parents and Dumbledore lived. They try to find the Sword of Gryffindor, the one object that can destroy Horcruxes. However, they are attacked by Voldemort's snake, but manage to escape. However, Harry's wand is broken. Things then get interesting as a Patronus from an unknown source leads Harry right to the Sword of Gryffindor, which is at the bottom of a lake. He nearly drowns trying to get it, but is saved by Ron, who returns to help with the rest of the mission. They manage to destroy the Horcrux and are off to find another one. After a trip to Luna Lovegood's home and just barely escaping Death Eaters, they are captured by Snatchers and are taken to Malfoy's home. However, Dobby shows up to save them and while successfully doing so, is killed in the process. Before I describe how I feel about the story, let me just say that this is easily one of the most beautifully filmed movies I have ever seen. David Yates did such a great job, and I was truly angry with the Oscar awards that this did not win for Best Cinematography. In fact, it didn't even get nominated. I think Harry Potter fans need to start protesting against the Academy. Okay, moving on. Believe it or not, it's actually a lot more detailed than the summary I just gave, but in all honesty, this is the most loyal Harry Potter movie I have ever seen. The story from the book is almost 100% in the movie, with obviously a couple of the smaller elements taken out. For the most part, I love how well they transferred the book to the movie. For instance, the 7 Harry Potters worked out beautifully. The moment I actually thought came across the best was Godric Hollows. The graveyard scene and the battle with the snake was really fantastic. Also, Harry, Hermione, and Ron's mission to find Horcruxes was also pretty well done. However, there still are elements from the story that I felt didn't transfer very well. To be honest, I really didn't care for Harry, Hermione, and Ron's mission in the Ministry of Magic. Mainly because I didn't think the whole Polyjuice Potion element worked out very well for that particular scene. With the 7 Harry Potters, it worked out well because it was Daniel Radcliffe performing it all. For the Ministry, it was 3 unknown actors being dubbed over by Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint, and it was more humorous than anything else. And that was my biggest problem with it because it was supposed to be a serious moment, and it came off a little too funny. Another small problem is some of the dialogue, and this is a problem that goes all the way back to the Sorcerer's Stone, and that's screenplay writer Steve Kloves copying and pasting some of the book's dialogue and putting it into the movie. The moment that really showed this was when Ron is explaining to Hermione how he found his way back after leaving. Now, to be fair, to me this didn't make much sense in the book either. Something about the Deluminator putting light into his heart and showing him the way. I don't know, once he said he could hear voices from it, he lost me from there. Now, like I stated before, they did change a few smaller elements from the story. The one that most book fans noticed was the elimination of the invisibility cloak, which actually did play a big part in the story from the book. I think it actually worked out better without it because it kept the suspense higher. The invisibility cloak was one of my favorite elements from the books, but in all honesty, it became one of my least favorite elements from the movies, especially when the series got darker and more mature, because the cloak seemed really childish and ridiculous. Also, Polyjuice Potion is not used as much in the movie as it was in the book. Again, this works out better, especially for the Godric Hollows, because it's better to see Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson performing all the emotions and not just another pair of actors. Now, one big change with this movie is its pace. This is something that all book fans saw coming, but not really the average moviegoers. Harry Potter films have become notorious for moving at one particular pace. However, the Deathly Hallows goes from a very fast-paced first act to a very slow second and third act, which worked out a lot better than I thought it would, because Yates said that part 1 was going to be the journey. I immediately thought that the movie was going to be too slow, but it wasn't. Sure, the story does have moments where it does stall a little bit, but that's nothing new for any movie. Another big change is surprisingly the tone. While the series had progressively been getting darker, the Deathly Hallows Part 1 takes it to another level. Even though I read the book several times, Voldemort killing the teacher from Hogwarts in the beginning still stunned me, and as I found out over time, it stunned a lot of other fans as well, because even though there had been deaths in the franchise up until that point, for some reason that particular death seemed to stun everyone watching in theaters. This is also the first Harry Potter movie where I think it truly earned the PG-13 rating, because I questioned why the Goblet of Fire and the Order of the Phoenix got the PG-13 rating, but I didn't question at all why the Deathly Hallows got it. There are just moments that are just out of the norm for this series. For instance, Bellatrix torturing Hermione for answers. That is just so weird for this franchise. Now, the first half of the Deathly Hallows book was not very action-packed. It had a little bit in the beginning, but none truly after that. The action didn't really start until after Dobby's death, but in order to keep this movie from being too slow in its pace, David Yates had to add a lot of action in. Of course, the battle between the Order and the Death Eaters during the 7 Harry Potter scene is incredibly action-packed, the Ministry of Magic had a little more action thrown in, and of course the snake scene was surprisingly even more intense in the movie than it was in the book. All of the action is very well done, and it's one of the areas that David Yates really excels at. The CGI is very well done as well. My favorite effect was actually Voldemort's snake Nagini. The snake just looked incredibly intimidating and incredibly real. Another great effect is Kreacher, because Kreacher's first scene I actually began to forget that he was a CG character. The acting has always been top-notch in the Harry Potter franchise, but believe it or not, Deathly Hallows Part 1 is actually better in that department. This is a film that really tested Daniel Radcliffe's, Emma Watson's, and Rupert Grint's acting skills because the movie focuses on them more than ever, because they're the only characters on screen for a good portion of the movie, and I was extremely impressed with them in this film. Another good performance from a returning cast member is Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort. He performs that character perfectly. A few new actors were added to the cast list. Bill Nighy was cast as the Minister of Magic, and he is perfect for the role. He performed it exactly how it was described in the book. Hazel Douglas plays Bathilda Bagshot, and I thought she deserved an award for the scariest performance of the year, because she is just frightening in the role, and I think she's even scarier than the snake that appeared later in her scene. Also, this film finally took the time to introduce Bill Weasley, a character that has been brought up in the whole book series and yet didn't get introduced until the second-to-last movie. Domhnall Gleeson takes the role of Bill Weasley, and despite only having about 10 minutes of screen time in Part 1, he's actually really perfect for the role and fits right in with the rest of the cast. Overall, it's darker, it's grittier, it's more adult, and it's easily the most loyal movie in the entire series, making it by far the best Harry Potter movie thus far. Even though there still are a couple of flaws, the acting, effects, and the wonderful cinematography makes you forget about the flaws instantly. Well everyone, that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.